Hello and welcome back to my studio. Today we're painting a beach scene. A few simple techniques to create a light-filled beach scene with a little bit of extra interest thrown into it. And you can paint this in oils, acrylics or gouache. I'm using oils in this demonstration, and let's begin. Okay, now this scene is quite simple. There's a couple of decisions you want to make with this type of scene. How much sky you want to leave in, how much you need to crop out, and also if you want to add something to the painting. In this case, I'm going to add a figure walking his dog, and there's a sentimental reason behind that as well. You can choose whatever you want to add that extra bit of life to the scene. The big feature for this scene as well is the foreground shadow. It's a very handy device to use even in a beach scene, and in this case the sun is setting or relatively low, not quite sunset, but there's still sufficient sand dunes on the right hand side to cast a shadow across the foreground, and this gives me that light dark contrast and also the warm and cool contrast that I like to look out for. A few other little things to consider: the wet sand, those colors, the rocks, and what colors you're going to use to show them off. Anyway, let's get started with the demonstration, and then I hope you try this out for yourself. My palette is fairly standard, just a little bit of deep yellow included there, and some orange. Starting out with a brief drawing of the composition. Really nothing too complicated with this. What I like about the composition as well are these sweeping lines, these sort of diagonals that take your eye into the painting and around to the top right of the painting. Of course, the shadow gives a nice diagonal as well that joins up with those sweeping lines of the sea. Then, with a bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine, I'm going to get in the darks of the rocks in shadow. It's sort of an anchor at the bottom of the painting, but this is also a nice test of painting rocks as well. Now I'm going to mix up the shadow color. Now the local color of the sand is yellow ochre, but it's in shadow, so I've got to add blue. I've also brought in a little touch of alizarin crimson. I add a bit of white, which makes it look kind of gray, so bring in color again, some more cerulean blue, a little touch of alizarin or red as well, until I get the value correct, and that's the most important thing. Get the value accurate. Just squint a little and you will see the values are as close as reasonable. You can always add more color to the shadow as the painting progresses. This is just the first stage, but I know I've got a good grasp of the value. Bring in a few more of these rock shapes, a touch more color now with a little bit of burnt sienna coming into it. I'm going to get the bit of dune showing in the top right there. It's lemon yellow, ultramarine blue. Darken it up with a touch of burnt sienna. Try to keep that fairly simple. Then scrub in the sky, and I really am just scrubbing it in with titanium white, cerulean blue, and I will warm it up closer to the horizon, a little bit cooler towards the top. Touch of alizarin to get a slight bit of grey cloud, now a bit of deep yellow into the white to get that warm color note just above the horizon line. Trying to keep the sky quite active. I'm not trying to paint those clouds. They're a little too distracting, I think. There's plenty to look at on the beach, so just a sense of moving clouds And then the sea, there's a dark line near the horizon. I try and get that in fairly accurately, but it's not 100% perfect. Just getting that line in, and then we can always adjust it later on. Touches of white and cerulean to lighten up the blue. And then I'll try and pull that sea forward into the sort of middle ground and foreground, lightening it up as it goes, because of course the water gets more shallow as it approaches the beach and therefore lighter. The waves are merely suggestions with the horizontal strokes of the brush. Some parts of the wave thicker and lighter, others very thin, leaning to more of the blue tones. Some warm color for light hitting the waves, and we'll develop those wave shapes just a little more as we go. But now there's a fairly tricky exercise, and that is the wet sand. Because it's got water that's seeping away in the sand, it's going to be darker, but where the sand is very wet, it's reflecting light from the sky, so you're getting that reflection on the sand. And then areas where the water has sunk in, it's, as I said, a bit darker, touch of alizarin and yellow ochre, a little bit of blue as well. So you're getting this variety of darker sand and sky reflection on the water. In the distance, the beach is cooler, more white, touch of blue perhaps. Coming forward, the shadow sides of the rocks. Now there are a lot of rocks, of course, you don't have to count them and paint every one, but you just got to suggest what's there. And I like to get my guide, of course, from the subject, but I'm not going to try and get every rock absolutely accurate. As long as you've got a light side and a shadow side, and the light in between those rocks, it's going to look just fine. A little bit of blue to soften up the shadows. And some of the shadow areas is picking up ambient light. So I've got to lighten that up with a little bit of cerulean and white. But of course it's still much darker in value than the sand in direct sunlight. All of these little touches hopefully will give the scene a sense of reality, but still not lose its sense of a more spontaneous impression. This is, after all, a sketch, and I'm more interested in warm and cool color contrasts, some nice thicker texture in the lights as well. Touch of red light just to warm that sand up slightly as it comes forward. The edges between light and shadow, I will soften that in the final stages of the painting. Now just blocking this in. When the block-in stage is over with a sketch like this, then the painting is mostly done as well. I will add some touch-ups, modify any edges that are maybe too hard, that should be softened up, add some figures for some human interest, and call it a day. A few darker accents, which I really enjoy putting in these shadows. Just a few refining shapes of rocks and waves and little touches just shaping those waves. The shadow of the wave under the breaking water is important. A bit of yellow, green for a touch of light. And just modify the shadow colors a little now. Slightly darker and cooler in the foreground and a little softer and more light-filled near the edge. Little brush to add a few final small accents here and there, light and dark. And now time to add a figure. Somebody walking their dog, an area that I used to walk my dog very often as well, so this painting is a little dedication to my dog that recently passed away. Sign off, get the tape off as well, and let's have a look at the painting. See if it worked out okay. Quite simple, as you can see, in composition, so you could try this out in the medium of choice and have a little fun with this painting. Well, I hope you enjoyed that demonstration. A very peaceful setting, something that you can try out with confidence as well. It's not a complicated composition. Just use more paint for the light areas, and in the shadow you can use a thinner paint as well. So you get that contrast between the shadow and then into the bold light area. Alright, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I try to put up a new video every week, and there's always something to learn and try out for yourself. Also, give this video a like if you've enjoyed it. If it was useful to you, it really helps me and the channel as well. Don't forget your free lesson up here, something you can find on my painting school. Well, enjoy your weekend's painting, and until next time, cheers for now.